Hey, what is up, guys? This is our first ever podcast between myself, Jordan Duke, and
Isaac Wilbanks.
And we are the EntertainMen. We're broadcasting live right now. It will be uploaded straight to YouTube, so if you guys are listening or if you guys are watching or whatever you're doing with it. Basically, this is our first episode. We decided we're going to do this because, honestly, we have a lot to say. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, we do. I think most of the time that we're together and talking, it takes a lot for us to shut up, so we figured that we need to put it through a medium where we can actually be heard.
Exactly. And just if, one person would have been like, hey, I'm going to record you guys and upload you to whatever, I think we would have made millions a long time ago.
Billions.
Yeah, clearly. But we're literally going to be talking about everything. We're going to be talking about everything from sports to growing up black and white and wrestling and comics and movies and literally everything. So if you guys have thought of it, we've probably talked about it at least twice. And it probably was a lengthy conversation, which we don't want to get back into.
Yeah,
but we're going to.
2-hour-long phone calls. We take multiple restroom breaks while we're on them, stuff like that. So we figured it might actually be fruitful to get together and, speak face-to-face like normal humans do.
But just like I said, this is our very first episode, and the title of this episode is called Getting to Know Us. So without further ado, I am going to ask you, Isaac.
Go for it.
Let me know. What was it like? Childhood? Everything? Kind of let everybody else know. I know a little bit. You told me it's a little bit of stuff, but we're talking baby Isaac to Isaac now.
Baby Isaac? Okay. Well, Jordan has already said that we're going to be talking about everything, and the entertainment points that we make in these comic books, movies, TV, wrestling, those things have shaped me the most of who I am. The earliest memory that I have involving those things is, I don't remember specific what year it was, but Goldberg won the WCW United States title from Raven. And I was watching it with my dad, and he celebrated and yelled so loud that it scared me, and I started crying. And from that point on, I've had to be a wrestling fan. So I was kind of like child abused into it.
It's like you cried, you're watching it.
Yeah, there you go. That's my boy. You're excited too, and I'm like, Dad, please. From that point on, I'm a huge wrestling fan. I'll probably talk about it more than I should. My influence into comic books, a lot of this is like catalysted, which isn't a word, brought upon by my dad. The first time I ever read a comic book, I told Dad, I was like, I'm a huge Robin fan because I had watched the Batman animated series, and my dad handed me Death in the Family and said, "Oh, you like Robin? Well, read this," and that made me cry too.
Just like, yeah, okay, so you like things. Let's just rip your heart out, okay?
Yeah, my dad's an awesome guy, I promise. But just things like that. My dad showed me directly after he gave me that comic book, and I read it and cried. He handed me a huge, one of the long boxes, just filled with X-Men comics, which is my favorite superhero team. I think it had a few Image comics, really obscure Image comics that I read and really liked. And from that point on, it sparked my creative juices. And I'm sure, as Jordan and I talk about often, we fan cast, we brainstorm for story ideas over all kinds of stuff. We're huge Star Wars fans, wrestling fans,
and film fans.
Just film fans in general. I want to be a director when I grow up. That's the goal. I try my hardest to write coherent scripts, and I work on that. And Jordan and I have so many graphic novel ideas that are probably never going to get made because neither of us can draw.
Or at some points, right.
So. I send him some stuff, and he's just like, whoa, you need to just lay down because it's not even English.
Yeah,
That's about the extent, without going into too much gross detail, I was born a poor black man. And that's about the extent of my, nerd history, is that Dad just pretty much was like, oh, you like this? Well, here's this, something that's ruining it. And I've just made it my life goal to seek out all the good things.
So, would you say then, this stuff was, forced onto you? Or,
No.
Or would you just say it was just...
I think it was more so, with wrestling and Star Wars, it was around me. And on my own, I went, ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
And then took it upon myself to not only explore it, but have my dad explore it with me.
Yeah.
And that kind of just blossomed more things.
Piqued the intrigue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I mean, personally, like growing up, were you bigger on WCW or were you bigger on WWE?
No.
Or WWF
WWF
/ WWE.
It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh when I see people who comment. Like, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm like the biggest wrestling nerd ever. Like, I'm the internet fan who's like, this is stupid, blah 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 blah. And it just makes me laugh when people are like, what's going on in the WWF now? And it's just like people are so like so detached from what's going on.
It's bad because like you've got like the old timers that want to know about the WWF, but then you have like the new people that are like, John Cena is the greatest person in the world for all the Make-A-Wishes.
Yeah, and then it's just...
It's like, where did wrestling fall into that phrase that you just threw at me?
Yeah, I don't even think you're a real person, YouTube commenter.
And then it's like, WWF, Grandpa?
Yeah, but
get with the times, sir!
Hasn't been that for a cool minute. I'm more of a Raw guy. I think that more of the memories that I have are of watching Raw. A funny thing about it that my dad and I always joke about is that Raw's 3 hours now. It used to be 2 hours. And halfway through the 2 hour mark was my bedtime. So I went like years and years of my life without finishing a Raw.
Oh.
So my dad would always tape like the last 30 minutes and show it to me the next day as I'm getting ready for school. And I think more of a WWE, WWF guy. Obviously, with the time, I was a huge Stone Cold fan. Dad told me, actually, yesterday we were watching Raw, and he's a huge Bayley fan right now, and he's just like, he wants to marry Bayley and all this crazy stuff. And I was like, I don't think you've ever been this much of a fan of a wrestler. He goes, that's not true. When Stone Cold won the title from Shawn Michaels, I shaved both of our heads. And I was like, oh, so in retrospect, maybe it was forced on me just a little.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of, like, yeah, that's forced. I think, like, there's no getting around that part.
It is and it isn't, because my dad's also a really big sports guy, and I'm sure as we'll go on with a certain episode that I really want to do, I have no idea. I don't know how sports work. I don't know. I don't know how it
So that's crazy. If he's a big sports guy, but he was also big in wrestling too, and comics, like, the crazy thing is like, those two gravitated you, but sports really didn't.
I think sports didn't because I'm always going to be a storyteller.
Yeah.
And wrestling and comic books, they just tell some of the most iconic stories of all time. I mean, even people who don't watch wrestling, you can tell me something that Hulk Hogan's done that has been impactful story-wise. And just anybody who's not really that big of a comic book fan, you can tell me something significant that Batman has done in a story that's impacted everyone.
Right.
Sports, they do that, but since I'm such an animated and such a, I guess, flamboyant character, I need that flamboyancy to draw my attention to. So I think that's what wrestling and comic books really did, as opposed to sports.
Right.
Which also is funny because most of my friends, as you are, Aubrey is, countless other friends that I have are just also so into sports, and I don't understand it. I don't understand why people are. I don't understand anything about it.
Just wait. About 5 years from now, you're going to be like, God, I just want a football game to be on this week.
Probably.
Just to get away from the kids and the wife, you know?
Yeah. It'll probably be about like that.
Man, it eventually gets to that point. I mean, I'm just now really getting big into football. I mean, it's kind of always been around me, but like none of my mom's side of my family never really cared about football. My uncles don't care about football. My grandpa never cared about football. Like some of the people that, like my uncles that my aunts married that came into the family, they were big on it. So like we'd go to their houses and they'd be like, "Oh, so watch the football game that's on." So they'd be down there watching it while everybody else up there eating turkey. And I'm throwing some turkey down and like I'm catching football and I'm kind of seeing what it's about and everything, but it's not. It wasn't really big until just like this last year, really, when I was like, you know what? I think I finally want to like sit down and actually watch a football game. And then it's just like, it just all came at me at once. And I'm just like, oh my God, where is this? And how did that happen?
Yeah. So, I think any sport, probably football would be the one that I would be open to learning more about.
Right.
I played football for like a year and a half in high school. And I loved it. I was terrible. But I loved it. And, you know, I'm not, like, I'm more of the person that, like, instead of getting together with my friends and watching basketball, I'd rather just go play basketball.
Right.
And even though I'm not good at it, and I can't do a spin move to save my life, but nobody gives an F if you're trying to spin move.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all.
That's just I'm a little bit more active like that. I loved playing football when I was playing. Hated watching tapes when we had to watch them.
Oh.
And I'm just like, I know that like my extent of football knowledge was this play means I have to go here. I don't know anything else outside of that.
Yeah.
And I just have to make sure that I'm covering my own. And which is probably the worst mentality for any football fans who see this and are just going to rip me a new one. I apologize. I was benched quite often, so
don't apologize.
Don't apologize.
Don't apologize to football fans.
They
don't apologize to us when they trash wrestling or comics.
Yeah. I should apologize for one football thing was my hairdo when I was playing.
Oh my good Lord.
It was down to my shoulders, and with my shoulder pads on, I looked like Lord Farquaad.
Lord Farquaad.
Lord Farquaad. So
yeah, dude, Lord Farquaad was cool though. Like in a weird like.
I mean, he was like the Peter Dinklage.
To do Peter Dinklage for Lord Farquaad.
Peter
Live
Dinklage.
action Shrek. Make it happen.
Oh yeah.
Bring Chris Farley back for Shrek. Originally he was going to be Shrek.
I think I'd watch something about that.
Like
I don't know how
he recorded the voices and everything, like for it, and then he died, and then they gave it to Mike Myers, and Mike Myers came up with that. Because there's like that documentary about Chris Farley, and it shows clips of him being Shrek, and it sounded good.
Really?
It obviously holy shnikes,
Yeah.
It obviously was major Chris Farley.
You could just hear like the chin flapping.
Oh yeah.
Through the mic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about the extent of where I'm at on entertainment. I'm a huge film guy. I'm a snob. To be completely honest, I'm a snob. I shouldn't be because I have no credibility as a film critic. But
just from the get go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because movies obviously they come out every year.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many of them we've never be able to watch all of them. But like just from the get go, like name me 2 movies you find absolutely amazing, and 2 you find absolutely utter trash.
2 I find absolutely amazing. Gangs of New York is probably my favorite movie ever.
It's a great movie.
And then if I'm gonna go with a more recent pick, I'm a huge Scorsese fan, and DiCaprio's starting to grow on me more and more, and I really really like Wolf of Wall Street. I think that movie is really long, but it has such a good pacing that it doesn't feel like it's long.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good key. If I'm going to go with 2 movies that I hate, I'm just going to pick any 2 Fast and Furious movies because I think they're utter garbage.
But that's the thing. Have you seen them?
I haven't, which is not how I should.
Fairly, you can't really rate that.
All right.
Give me 2 movies you've seen from start to finish that you're like, that was trash.
There was one that I watched recently with my girlfriend that was... I think it was like a Nicholas Sparks movie. I can't remember what it's called, but it was just so generic and it was just so predictable.
Was it the one that had the chick from Game of Thrones in it, and then the dude in the wheelchair?
No. It was one like this dude was like a vet, and they met because like they were neighbors, and she was all like, "You're being really disrespectful," and he's like, "Oh, okay." And then it was one of those things where she's like, I'm in love with my dog and it's dying, so I take it to the vet, and like he's the one who has to fix it, and like she gets in a car wreck, and it's like all this ridiculous stuff, and it was just so cookie cutter.
Oh, dude.
That I was like,
well, we'll just say cookie cutter romantic movie.
Cookie cutter romantic movie. That one specifically.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of childhood movies that I had been forced to watch that I hated. Oh, the Hannah Montana movie. I remember that my sister used to have it, and just like because my love for movies just comes from the purest form of just being a kid and like putting in a VHS tape and like having to rewind it and all this stuff. And my sister got to the age where she was like, Hannah Montana's cool, and she just like watched it over and over and over, and like that was the first time I ever thought of killing myself. So
I mean, it just summed it up right there.
Yeah, it was just the worst experience of my life. So, but most of the times I try to find the good and bad in movies.
Right.
And if I can't, I feel like I'm not trying hard enough.
Right. All right, guys. Well, each episode we're doing is 15 minutes at a time. And we're down to the last 10 seconds of this one. So with part 2, we're going to come back, talk a little bit more. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure and like this.